So when I first started thinking about a topic for this presentation, I really started sort of delving in my inner mind and thinking, what am I passionate about? And it really occurred to me that most things I'm passionate about don't really translate well into a speech. So then I thought, where else can I go with this? What sort of big sweeping topic can I think about? And that's really sort of personal freedoms. Now, this country was really founded upon the principle of you're allowed to do things so long as you're responsible. And the founding fathers really, as Thomas Jefferson said, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And now what that really means is, go be free. But while you're being free, you need to think about what you're doing and how it's affecting yourself and others. So where along that, from 1776, when he wrote that Declaration of Independence, to now, is it that 18-year-olds are allowed to go off to Vietnam and die for their country against their will? We're allowed to vote, we're allowed to buy cigarettes, buy lottery tickets, sign contracts, and get married. We are legal adults. We've reached the age of majority. We're allowed to do all these things. The government, for some reason, has decided we're not old and mature enough to go to the nearest convenience store and buy a beer. Now, in that logic, I can't understand that. We're getting all these mixed signals that we're old enough and mature enough to do all sorts of things. We're old enough to decide who runs our country, but we're not old enough to decide for ourselves that it's okay to have a beer or two. Now, the current drinking laws that we have, they're just flat out not working. According to a study done by a scientist from the University of California, the underage drinking accounts for 17.5% of consumer spending on alcohol in the United States. That's $22.5 billion underage kids are spending on alcohol in this nation. So clearly, something is not working. So I propose that it's time for us to open up a discussion on what it means to be an adult and have responsibilities, and talk about perhaps lowering the federally mandated drinking age of 21 down to 18 or 19, maybe even 20. It's already an arbitrary number. Let's make it perhaps a less arbitrary number. So a little bit of background on this topic. In 1984, the National Minimum Drinking Age Act was passed, and it requires that states prohibit persons under 21 from purchasing or consuming alcohol, and they did this by tying in 10% of federal funds towards highways, towards increasing the drinking age. Because before this bill was passed in the 70s, voting reform happened, decreasing the voting age from 21 to 18, and with that, roughly 30 states changed their drinking age from 21 to 18 because, hey, these kids they're now adults, they can vote, so you know what, I guess that means they're mature enough to drink too. However, late 70s, a study was published essentially saying, oh, all of these 18-year-old kids are driving around killing people because they're drunk. So Mothers Against Drunk Driving lobbied to Ronald Reagan, and he said, okay, I'll pass this bill. However, studies that have been later done, in modern times have kind of come to show that, wow, that's not necessarily true. In fact, regardless of what age is the youngest group to start drinking legally, that's where the fatalities will be according to the National Highway Safety Administration. In 2009, the 21 to 24-year-old age group had the highest percentage of drivers in fatal crashes with blood alcohol concentration levels higher of 0.08 or higher. That's 35%. Any increase in this traffic accident fatalities in 18 to 20-year-olds would just essentially, it would decrease the age, that age group, the 21 to 24-year-olds, they would experience a decrease in their fatalities, and 18 to 20-year-olds would see that rise, but it's not going to stay this, nothing's going to change. It's just change in demographics. And not only that, having a legal drinking age of 21, it's not causes us an age group to drink any less. It's just caused us, instead of drinking legally, we're now drinking illegally in these unsafe environments that are causing us to not only binge drink, but also to drink to excess. According to the 2013 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, 35.1% of 15-year-olds reported that they had at least one drink in their lives. About 8.7 million people ages 12 to 20, 22.7% of this age group reported drinking alcohol in the past month. And 5.4 million people of ages 12 to 20 were binge drinkers. So we have this serious issue of children that you saw that age starts at age 12. So we have people as young as 12-year-old binge drinking. No, that's wrong. We need to fix that. But as prohibition didn't work in the 20s, all it did was it moved, a legal drinking culture to all these speakeasies where people were getting shot, and you had the rise of Al Capone. It was a mess. So that sort of correlates with today, our culture of fraternity parties where kids go and get blackout drunk and then pass out, and then, oh no, my friend's dying, what am I going to do? Oh, we can't take him to the hospital, he's 18, go arrest him. That is also a problem. We just have this conglomerate of issues really centered around this arbitrary number of 21. If we could perhaps lower that, we would not only see a decrease in deaths of kids drinking because they're not going to be afraid to go to the hospital, we would also see perhaps an increase in responsibility if we could start educating people earlier about safe drinking as opposed to just telling them drinking is evil, you can't do it until you're 21. We see in the European countries where the drinking age is as low as 15, that yes, they do drink more, they drink much more responsibly, and so they don't binge drink as much. So, in the course of this research, I kind of wanted to find out what can we do in terms of actually bringing about this change. Because certainly, a bunch of 18-year-olds going around saying, hey, lower the drinking age to 18, all it's going to seem like is that we just want to go get drunk all the time. But that's not necessarily the case. There's this organization I found called Choose Responsibility. And here's their mission statement. Choose Responsibility is a nonprofit organization founded to stimulate informed and dispassionate public discussion about the presence of alcohol in American culture and to consider policies that will effectively empower young adults ages 18 to 20 to make mature decisions about the place of alcohol in their own lives. Alcohol is a reality in the lives of young Americans. It cannot be denied, ignored, or legislated away. So essentially, this is an issue that we were going to face for the rest of our lives. We need to, instead of pushing it aside and ignoring it as an issue and just saying, we're fine with where we're at, 21 is where it's going to stay, we need to understand that the policies we have in place currently are not working. We need to find a more effective solution to go about it, be it education as early as middle school or education in college. We all have to go through alcohol EDU, but that's not effective. It's just some quick surveys and some videos that most of us didn't even pay attention to. We need to find some more hands-on, tangible ways to educate young adults about alcohol and how to drink it responsibly and the effects it'll have on you if you drink too much. Because otherwise, we're just going to continue this culture of binge drinking and alcoholism. So, in summary, I'd like to end with a quote from Ron Swanson. The whole point of this country is, if you want to eat garbage, balloon up to 600 pounds, and die of a heart attack at 43, you can. You are free to do so. To me, that's beautiful. Now, it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but what that means is, this nation is a nation of freedom. Now, I, for one, I enjoy my freedoms. And I think perhaps maybe it's gotten to the point where the national government has gotten a little too heavy-handed in their overreach of some of these freedoms. Now, if states want to make the drinking age 21, that's fine. That's their right. But we should not enforce that on them through tying their highway funds to them. We need to disincorporate that highway funds motive into their mandate and allow states to decide for themselves. Thank you.